Most people think emotionally strong people are obvious. They imagine someone fearless, confident, loud, impossible to break. But psychology suggests emotional strength rarely looks dramatic from the outside. In fact, some of the mentally strongest people often appear quiet, detached, or even misunderstood. Real mental strength is usually hidden inside small daily behaviors that most people completely overlook. Behavioral psychologists often explain that emotional resilience is not about suppressing feelings. It's about how the brain processes stress, uncertainty, and discomfort without collapsing under pressure. And over time, that inner stability starts revealing itself through subtle habits. Here are 10 behaviors that are surprisingly common in mentally strong people. The first is becoming comfortable being alone. Emotionally strong people don't constantly need noise, attention, or validation from others. Solitude gives the brain time to regulate emotions and recover from overstimulation. Studies in cognitive psychology suggest that people with higher emotional resilience often use alone time to process thoughts more effectively instead of escaping from them. The second behavior is staying calm during chaos. While most people react immediately to stressful situations, mentally strong individuals often pause first. This pause is important because it allows the prefrontal cortex to regain control over emotional impulses coming from the amygdala. From the outside, this can look like emotional distance, but internally, it's emotional regulation. The third habit is overanalyzing their own behavior. Strong-minded people constantly reflect on their actions, decisions, and emotional reactions. They replay conversations, question their own responses, and search for patterns in their behavior. Sometimes this creates self-doubt, but it also creates self-awareness. Psychology researchers often link self-reflection with long-term emotional growth because the brain becomes better at recognizing unhealthy patterns over time. The fourth behavior is losing interest in superficial relationships. As people become emotionally stronger, they often become more selective about who they allow into their lives. Small talk, fake energy, and emotionally draining relationships start feeling exhausting instead of exciting. Their brain begins prioritizing emotional safety and meaningful connection over social approval. The fifth habit is accepting uncomfortable truths. Most people instinctively avoid painful realities because the brain prefers emotional comfort over uncertainty. But mentally strong people slowly train themselves to face difficult truths directly. Whether it's failure, rejection, loneliness, or disappointment, they would rather experience temporary pain than live inside denial. The sixth behavior is needing time before responding emotionally. Strong people are not emotionless. In fact, they often feel emotions very deeply. The difference is that they don't always react immediately. Their brain naturally tries to understand the emotion before expressing it. This creates emotional control, which many psychologists consider one of the clearest signs of maturity and resilience. The seventh habit is becoming less impressed by external success. Over time, emotionally strong individuals begin realizing that status, money, popularity, and appearance don't always reflect inner peace. This changes the way they see success itself. Instead of chasing validation, they become more focused on stability, freedom, and mental clarity. Now, think about this for a moment. How often do we misunderstand emotional strength? Someone quiet may seem cold. Someone distant may seem arrogant. Someone selective may seem antisocial. But sometimes these behaviors are not signs of weakness at all. Sometimes they are signs that a person has already survived things that force them to grow internally. The eighth behavior is protecting their energy carefully. Mentally strong people become highly aware of environments, conversations, and people that drain their emotional state. Their nervous system becomes less tolerant of constant negativity, manipulation, or emotional chaos. So instead of trying to fix everyone, they start choosing peace more often. The ninth habit is questioning everything they once believed. Emotional growth often forces people to re-examine old beliefs about relationships, success, happiness, and even themselves. Strong individuals usually develop the ability to change perspectives when new experiences challenge old assumptions. Psychologists call this cognitive flexibility, and it's strongly connected to emotional intelligence. And finally, the 10th behavior is quietly rebuilding themselves after pain. One of the strongest psychological traits is the ability to suffer without becoming permanently bitter. Mentally strong people still experience heartbreak, failure, anxiety, and disappointment. The difference is that they slowly rebuild themselves instead of allowing pain to completely define their identity. And perhaps that's the most fascinating part of mental strength. It rarely announces itself loudly. Most of the time, it exists silently inside people who learned how to keep going even when life gave them every reason to stop. And maybe that's why emotionally strong people are often so difficult to recognize. They're not always the loudest person in the room. They're usually the ones silently fighting battles nobody else can see, teaching themselves how to heal, how to think differently, and how to keep moving forward without losing themselves completely. If some of these behaviors felt strangely familiar to you, then maybe your mind has already been growing in ways you never noticed before. And if you enjoyed this kind of psychological insight into human behavior, make sure to subscribe to Mindset Facts for more videos exploring the hidden patterns behind intelligence, emotions, success, and the human mind. Because sometimes understanding yourself changes everything.